Hello, this week on Five Brilliant Things, we have the fantastic stand-up comedian and actor Tom Rosenthal.
Trip reports. It's like having a drug experience without actually having to do the horrible thing of taking the drugs.
So frustrating that TripAdvisor, the website, is already taken, because this is the perfect pun.
I was so frustrated that the Wi-Fi wasn't working because I love the internet so much. Sure. I actually punched a wall and broke my hand. They put sort of soundproofing on the Airbnb, so I thought the wall would be really soft. Then I punched it, and it was just a wall. So
and as if Edinburgh costs enough, you then break your Airbnb.
A few things that conform to the golden ratio that you see every day that you may not know. The Kit Kat logo, the Mona Lisa,
wow,
Aston Martin's, and Shania Twain's face.
I wanted to say that don't impress me much, but is that the right singer?
It is.
Is that right? Yeah.
Hello, Tom Rosenthal.
Hello, Russell Howard.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I don't really know you, but I'm very good friends with John Robbins.
Okay.
And he speaks with real fondness of you. So I've been observing you in the past 5 minutes through the prism of John Robbins, and I understand why he likes you. You're very, you're instantly an interesting man. I'm really looking forward to this. Is that a tough way of starting an interview?
Definitely, it's a lot of pressure.
Does it feel pressure?
It's a lot of pressure. Well, I'll do my best to be interesting. I'm pretty down on my 5 things already.
Are you?
I mean, they are objectively boring. I've literally been doing revision on one. I've written quite a lot of notes because I really don't feel almost qualified to talk about it. I don't know why I selected these things.
Okay.
I don't want to just do like brilliant things that, you said, oh, don't pick your dog or your child or whatever. So I think I went too far in the other direction, and I've picked something that I think is interesting but don't really know much about. And I have been, I mean, I think they all are basically things that I wish I knew more about. I think they are brilliant, but I don't really feel necessarily qualified to fully explain why they're brilliant.
Well, that's fine. Well, why don't we start with the one you feel most confident with, and then we can work our way into the sort of upper reaches of your intelligence.
Okay. Well, the one I'm most confident with would be Dennis Bergkamp's goal for Holland against Argentina in the 1998 World Cup in the quarterfinal.
I'm here for that. It's a beautiful goal. Very similar to the goal he scored against Leicester.
It is.
For the sake of the listener, why don't we start with a sort of poetic description of the goal so we're all on the same page?
I mean, even this, it's a World Cup match. Holland are playing against Argentina in the quarterfinal of the '98 World Cup, which was taking place in America. It's a 1-1 draw. It's going into extra time. Ronald de Boer, I believe. Maybe Frank de Boer is carrying the ball gently up the field. You think the game is just sort of like just going to lull into final little extra time. All the players are preparing for this, and he just sort of lumps the ball up towards Dennis Bergkamp. And Dennis Bergkamp is a footballer with a freakish first touch, which is why he's my favourite footballer of all time. And unlike most footballers who, I guess, the ball would sort of bounce off them with their tired 90-minute legs, he manages to sort of bring it down out of the sky. And the Argentinian defender, I want to say Roberto Ayala, I should have researched this before, is just completely flummoxed. He's flummoxed by Bergkamp's first touch, and the second touch it takes on it, and then he just sort of pokes it into the top corner past the Argentinian goalkeeper. Everyone goes mad, and it's sort of moments of technical brilliance in such high stakes context. It's why we love football. I think Bergkamp as a man, as a footballer, he sort of blends artistry with athleticism, and I've always really liked footballers that they for some reason seem like they're smart. I don't know if he is smart.
I tell you what he does. He has incredibly smart eyes. Bergkamp. He looks like an artist, and I know exactly what you mean. He's my favourite footballer ever as well.
This is incredible.
And I'm a Liverpool fan, but you kind of in my era when I was really, really into football, he was balletic and had both feet and could just do things that were so natural and almost scientific. That because what's interesting about that goal is the ball is fizzed over and the touch is so kind of pure and audacious, but it's it's almost like he went, well, the ball is coming here. I will take my touch. I will move it there, and then I will put it again. Like, it isn't flash. It's the right thing done well. Is probably a good way. He isn't like and I'll do a step over and I'll twist this way and I'll look around. Everything is as it's meant to be.
Yes, that's a perfect summation. I read his book, and he said that he used to spend almost all of his time just kicking a ball against a wall.
Is that right? That's what
and
Berbatov did.
Sort of studying the way the ball would spin and the mechanics of it. And I myself like to do that when I was a child. I don't imagine I did it as well as Dennis Bergkamp or with the amount of hours that he put in. But I do think this sort of marriage of I guess you'd say science and art, or studying ball physics and player movement, and he just seemed to be working on these like other level to other players. And obviously you could say, if you looked at it once, you'd say that's a freak, and some people can do it as a freak. But the thing is this guy did it for like 5 or 6 years. Like I would watch him constantly do this stuff, and you'd be watching him just like wondering when the ridiculous thing was going to happen. I have the similar thing with like Mesut Ozil. I'm a huge Mesut Ozil fan, just because he would just do these things, and you're like quite regularly, you're like, how do you have the awareness to do that? And yeah, I just say, if you don't even like football, just put in Dennis Bergkamp goals on YouTube, and I think, you know, even if you don't like football, you'll see that this guy. I actually did the same thing with Berbatov quite recently. Have you seen the compilation of Berbatov's first touches?
It's insane.
Oh my goodness, it's the best thing to watch. Yeah, the way he just brings the ball down. All these elite footballers, is all about your first touch. Dad would always say, get your first touch right and you'll be a decent footballer. And I think, you know, that is a relatable, brilliant thing that I'm hoping will mean that the football fans haven't turned off this episode.
Yeah.
Like they perhaps would have done if we started with my most alienating thing, which is alienating.
No, but it's you. Even if you're not into football, it would be impossible for you to watch certainly a live game where a ball is whacked and you really feel like it's, you know,
He's just lumping it.
It's hit at like 60 miles an hour, like it's coming at you, and then somehow it's that kind of the grace to take it down.
I can't. It might have been Lee Dixon or some Arsenal player was talking about how their sort of tactic then was just to sort of lump these aimless balls towards him because he was a freak who could do it. Maybe Ian Wright was saying it as well. Yeah. You know, it's like it's nice in life to have someone who you feel like you could just throw anything at and you can sort of rely on. You know, I imagine in a podcast format, it's similar. You know, you get a guest who you know they're going to say something funny. You can just ask them any old question, right? That's what you want. And Bergkamp, I mean, he was beautiful to watch, but he had a kind of a steel and a physicality and a sort of competitiveness that I just I really I'm happy that I lived in the same timeline as him. You know?
Yes, it's difficult not to be nostalgic about the era of football that you grew up in, but I do think that kind of late 90s, early noughties was the perfect blend of athleticism and artistry. And now it feels the Premier League feels unbelievably athletic, that you have to have 11 runners. You couldn't have a Letitia. Like, to my knowledge, Bergkamp didn't track back. You know, you know what I mean? That you had like Berbatov, you had players like, I'm trying to think, like, you know, like Ginola, like Tino Asprilla, those kind of...
Or Zola or something.
Yeah, but they were just kind of...
Circus players.
Canio, really good example. Like these kind of like just beautiful kind of artists that just sort of... all of them look like they would have a fag on the go. Do you know what I mean?
Berbatov famously would. He smokes 20 a day.
But they sort of have that you know, there's almost... There's a French kind of like Renaissance artist about them all, of like, this is how I do my painting. You know, it's... What do people do if they're not into football with a weekend? What do they do? What do they do?
I don't know. Read?
Would a modern football team paying the equivalent of a modern Dennis Bergkamp's wages put up with someone who refused to fly?
That's a fantastic question. Put up with, I mean...
Sign. Would they even sign someone who refused to fly to go to those fixtures?
If you were that good, I think, because even in that era, he would have been a nuisance. But he was so good that they were like, fine, we have to do this. Do you know what I mean?
Here's an interesting question. I mean, there's so many players now, I think you'd probably get away with it more. Like, you know, if you're not playing in the away games in Europe, it'd just be a good way to rest him, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think people would be put off signing Bergkamp in the modern era. In fact, I'll be up for signing him again now. What a player.
I bet he's still good.
Yeah.
I bet he was still lithe. I bet he does yoga, and I bet he cooks for his wife.
Infamously boring off the field.
Really?
Yeah.
Give me examples of him being
Also,
bored.
but his teammates of the time, who were phenomenal pissheads.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you're saying boring equals not drinker, then I suppose
That's what they would say. So he liked to go home after a game.
He'd like to go home after a game.
Condition himself to spend
Square.
time with his partner rather than drinking 8 pints.
I had a fantastic story from David Dean, the ex-owner of Arsenal.
Okay, now we're talking.
He was telling me about Wenger. When Wenger first came to Arsenal, one of the first things he did, he banned chocolate. So chocolate wasn't allowed. And apparently they went on a 10-match unbeaten streak. And Tony Adams was like, can we have a Mars bar now? And Wenger was like, absolutely not. I've told you these are the rules, Tony. And then apparently like Nigel Winterburn was like, what about like a tracker bar? I was like, not having any. And it was this kind of beautiful story of all these kind of like legends of football going, what about Whisper? That's not even real chocolate.
Celebration. Come on.
And it really tickled me, just the idea of Wenger going, no, you don't understand. You're not having anything. And then eventually I think they were allowed a biscuit and that was it.
Yeah, he banned a lot of stuff, didn't he? So I think he banned like jelly babies at half time and all
Jelly
that.
babies, yeah. You weren't allowed sandwiches.
He's credited with like revolutionising the English game with his intellectual ways.
Have you ever met Wenger?
I did meet Arsene Wenger, and I mean, he obviously has an incredible mind and incredible memory. Because my dad interviewed him a fair few times, he referred to me as the philosopher, because I did philosophy at university, and my dad told him that. And he was like, how is the philosopher? So to have been referred to as a philosopher by Arsene Wenger is a real crowning glory. And it's really sort of whacking my Nepo baby card on the table early doors, but, it's hard to avoid.
But it's a real measure of the man that he
insane.
was interested in your dad, not just as a, interviewer, but he obviously asked about your dad, your dad's kind of life. Your dad gave an answer and he remembered it. Think of all the interviews he's had to do. I love people like that.
Remarkable man manager and mind.
Yeah.
And yes, a hero.
What is your next brilliant thing?
Okay, now I can go any order. Let's go with physio.
Physio.
Specifically hanging.
Okay.
I have a bad body and have historically had quite a lot of issues. I have scoliosis.
What's scoliosis?
It's like a bent spine, essentially. And I played a lot of sport growing up because my dad sort of thrust me into it, and I really enjoyed it. But I didn't have the sort of natural physical capacity to do so. And as a result, I've had lots of injuries and I've spent quite a lot of time essentially working on my body to fix mainly my bent spine. And there's a period in my 20s where I couldn't get through a day without having to lie down in the middle of the day. I had loads of neck pain and all this.
No.
So as a result, I have a sort of huge love in my heart for the entire discipline of physio. Essentially breaking down the human body into its mechanistic components and working out sort of how it all functions and what you have to stretch or strengthen in order to sort of reduce a certain pain. I just sort of love it. Basically, I love how you can make your body better with a variety of different exercises and I think it's really cool to have something in life whereby something works. Like if your shoulder hurts, you can go to a person and they'll tell you, if you do these stretches and these things, the pain will go away. Whereas mental anguish or spiritual anguish, it's so much more confusing. So I just love the fact that people have really mapped out the body and that you can go to a person who'll be like, if you want your calves not to cramp, just do this for a month. I'm a huge fan of it. I think it's brilliant.
Would you ever consider doing a show called Mind Physio where you tried to talk about fixing those wouldn't that be an interesting show, wouldn't it? It'd be an interesting TV quest.
Well, to fix my mind.
Well, no, can minds be fixed in the same way bodies can be fixed?
Yeah, I mean, I'm also very, very fascinated by therapeutics generally. I mean, I do believe that a lot of mental problems are actually physical problems that are manifesting as mental problems, so stuff like anxiety, I think is often to do with things that are held in the body, which is again why I'm so into physio, because I basically had very bad forward neck posture as a result of my kind of weak spine. And I'm just very into it because I spent like 2 weeks at this place called SOS Scoliosis, where it's literally like school, and they make you get there at 9 and you do stretches and strengthening. And specifically, the thing that I think is amazing is hanging. I recommend everyone hangs, which is just basically hanging from a bar for ages because it lengthens your spine. And
How long can you hang for?
so I mean, I could do like a minute or maybe like 80 seconds now. But I mean, when I first started doing it, I could do none. And it's just essentially your head is very heavy, and when you're like this and you have the on the phones and on your computer and all that, this weighs very heavily on your body, and it kind of makes you tired and compresses your spine and does all this really bad stuff, and it's depressing. And essentially the reason I put it on this list is because my quality of life kind of sucked, and it was I found it very difficult to write anything because after about 50 minutes using a laptop, my neck would hurt. And as a creative person, you want to express yourself, and this is literally impacting my capacity to get my thoughts and my work into the world. So literally just every morning, like getting a band and doing that and hanging from a thing now means like I hold my head up better and I have a better posture, which it not only like looks a bit better, but it literally allows me to be more have more energy and be more present in the world as like as a speaker and a creator of things. And it sounds a bit like mad essentially, but I credit it with a massive like uptick in my quality of life, just basically holding myself up better and doing a few back things. And I think that we're all basically on laptops and we all sit terribly and we all have our phones like this all the time, and we often feel a bit crap. And I think that literally just like putting your shoulders back and holding your head up and having the muscular capacity to do that actually had a massive impact on me, and that's why I think video is a brilliant thing.
Yeah, there's all those kind of like animations about what we're going to look like in 100 years if it continues, and we are all kind of like hunched, and I think our thumbs get really big, don't they? It all like, but it does feel like they are changing the way we are quite hunched.
Gravity sucks, man. Like we're not meant to deal with gravity. I don't think we're supposed to even like stand up. And so
you try living without it.
No,
That is
but like
big talk.
when we're
This is
knocking
like
about
welcome to Einstein's Slam Day.
in the jungle and stuff, we were obviously like, even I've got a 10-month-old baby, and like we try and get her to climb on as much stuff as possible because that's what we're supposed to do, and we don't. We end up we're at school and we're sat on these. I hate seats. I have these like kneeling seats that I kneel on because that basically forces you into good posture. Because I was so debilitated by all of these things, and I feel like I grew up like I'm massively into screens. I love like one of the other things is the internet. I love the internet. I love looking at screens and I love thinking about stuff and hunting over, but actually it's really, really bad for us, like mentally, physically, and eventually spiritually. So I basically just love to do this every morning with a band, and I think.
Did you have a physio that sort of transformed your life? Is there
Well, specifically, yeah, these people, SOS Scoliosis, they're in East London, and they just taught me a lot about this stuff, and it becomes a sort of bugbear of mine. I guess early 20s I went there, because I mean I've always struggled with energy and I suppose neurosis generally. Like the sort of high shoulders and like worrying about the world and being this kind of person. But I guess my point that I was trying to make earlier is that I think a lot of this mental stuff is actually physical first. And if you feel like a confident person who breathes deeply and is centered in themselves, you then become that mentally. You become a better communicator and you become more present. But you can't achieve those things. You can't achieve mental well-being without first fixing your body. And the only people who have the key to fixing your body in this quite mechanistic way, I think, are physios. A lot of us carry so much tension just because of how we move, and we don't really understand it. So certain like acupuncture or pressure point massage will release bits in you, and then if you strengthen that bit, you can then become someone who holds himself properly, and then you can start to feel less anxious, less depressed. It's I feel like going and talking to a person every week, obviously it has its merits, but that can't fix you as fundamentally, in my opinion, as doing stretches and stuff. I don't know, man. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with always trying to become a sort of more physically fit version of myself, and that does not manifest as getting big biceps or running 10Ks. It manifests as like essentially how straight can I stand.
Can I ask about the hanging?
Oh, please do.
Have you considered turning it into cold hard cash?
What, you mean those people on the streets?
Yes. Because if you're practicing that much,
the thing is, I'm still nowhere near good enough to beat that con. But I've looked at those and
they're great.
I've considered it. I
We-
mean, I
we
respect
fam-
the hustle.
We famously did one on my stag do in Vegas.
How long did you
One in Las
last?
Vegas.
The winner was my wife's brother Reese, who I think did 2.5 minutes.
See, that guy's got to have a great posture.
And
His lats.
He has. He's beautiful to look at.
Oh, I'd kill for his lats.
And I think we made him stop because we were like, come on, mate, we've got to go to a fucking bar. But like he was, and he still talks about it. He was furious.
I think he's still there.
No, he feels like he's got another minute in him.
Yeah.
But
Guy's
it's
a
meant to
fucking
be
gibbon.
it's meant to be a really good thing to do at the end of a workout, isn't it? Just to kind of like de-stress and
it's so easy. I do it on the tube, which does get some strange looks to be
Yeah.
fair, but they have a perfect hanging bar there.
Where does this come from? This sort of quest for physical perfection or mental
To be honest,
perfection?
I mean, this specifically just came from. I felt very debilitated. Like, I mean, if you imagine having this conversation, but just my back is just hurt. Everything was just hurting. I couldn't stand up for long periods of time. Like, it becomes quite lame in a nightclub when you have to sit down at 2 a.m. when all of your friends are having a fun time. So this specifically just came from like, I really want to be able to operate in the world like other people seem to be able to. And now I just seem to have this knowledge whereby I see people sitting a little bit crooked and I'm like, oh, you should put your laptop on a stand so your neck doesn't get, and you just start to see it everywhere. I think generally, I like the idea of optimizing myself, and I like any kind of source of information which is going to give me some kind of head start on how to like live a sort of a better life. But I don't necessarily have the discipline to actually impose any of those things in my life. So I really like the idea that there is some sort of knowledge that has been hidden from us by anyone. So anyone who says I've got this secret thing, I will try it out.
Gotcha.
Yes. I think I'm just a curious. I mean, a sort of pathologically open-minded person.
What a great way to be.
I don't know.
What's your next brilliant thing?
Oh, well. Okay, so we're going to go. I want to go. I was going to say the internet because I mean it's obviously a brilliant thing, and I feel like modern times we're getting very down on the internet because everyone's like, oh, AI is taking over the world, and everyone's like upset because they're on their phone, and I just think that we're sort of. We've kind of got used to how amazing it is. But then I thought I was quite general, so I would want to make a more specific thing that I think is brilliant about the internet, which I've been doing quite a lot recently, which kind of feeds into what we're talking about. I really like to listen to trip reports of people, specifically on this YouTube account called Vivek, where he details at length the experiences that they have under a variety of hallucinogens, because it allows me to sort of, have this pathological open-mindedness and sort of, it's like having a drug experience without actually having to do the horrible thing of taking the drugs. So I really like listening to...
So frustrating that TripAdvisor, the website, is already taken because this is the perfect pun.
But yeah... but before most nights of sleep, I just put on this northern man who just reads out these
Wow.
harrowing accounts of people who've taken like really strong things like salvia or datura, and they just go to these weird places.
I think it would really help our listeners if you could just try and recreate now
right.
in the voice of the man.
So
one of these.
okay. So they sound like I recommend it. Go on YouTube, Vivek. But he's just like, so he's like, oh. Well, on the weekend, a few of my mates and me decided to take some salvia. We were feeling a bit bored with our schoolwork, so we got the strongest salvia we could find, and we smoked a big bowl. After 10 minutes, the walls were melting. My grandmother appeared in front of me. When she opened my mouth, it was a chorus of 1,000 demons screaming the biggest fear. Before I know it, I was on the rings of Saturn. Then I came back. But I wasn't me anymore. I was actually a garden tap in a house I didn't recognise. I lived as that garden tap for 3,000 years. When I woke up, my mates told me it had been 10 minutes, so we played some PlayStation. It's just that. It's so much fun.
And it sounds compelling. What I would argue, how are you sleeping?
Well, I sleep fine, man. It's
Do you?
Yeah. It's but in a way, it's a transition from consciousness to the subconscious. I mean, again,
Do any of them make you want to take it? Or
no.
That's interesting.
No. I mean, sometimes they are, positive. They're not all like horrendous. Hallucinogens are sort of like that. But these are the kind of hallucinogens where you completely lose your everything. And I mean, stuff with salvia is very interesting. Like, people do experience completely other lifetimes, and they'll feel like they take 100 years, and they have like a whole family, and they have a whole I mean, there's a lot of very, very sort of powerful hallucinogens that I just don't think necessarily lead anywhere good. I mean, some of these stories literally go. They were like, I tried 40x salvia. I was never the same again.
Right.
And you just, I'll just stick that on YouTube, thanks.
But what drew you to it in the first place?
I mean, I guess it is, again, my pathological open-mindedness. I think the concept of hallucinogens is sort of very fascinating. I mean, I don't believe that this is the only reality, like you and me talking right now. I think there's loads of layers to existence that we aren't really tapped into, and I think that sometimes hallucinogens can maybe take you places which you wouldn't experience without those things, right? So, and I'm always trying to build what I think my metaphysical sort of model for reality is, and I think that some of these things are potentially informative. So I was drawn to it as just, again, like a epistemological sort of curiosity, but I stay because they're really entertaining. You know, he puts a nice little soundscape on it, and his voice is very compelling, and I find them very funny. You know,
are you married?
I'm engaged.
You're engaged.
Yes.
Congratulations.
And I think my sort of drug experimentation times are over as well. You know, so I feel like.
But what I was going to say is, are you on headphones listening to this?
Oh, she's not listening to this stuff.
That's right. That's what I wanted to know. When
no,
the 10-month is listening in as well.
Shit.
I don't know what the research into exposure of that is, but I imagine it.
The baby's crying. Just let him finish.
Yeah, exactly.
The demon was licking at my toes.
Exactly.
You do the baby. Yeah, no. No, it's just one of the mad things that I consume on YouTube. But I do think the internet's brilliant. What do you think about the internet? Pro? Anti?
No, well, it's an incredibly difficult thing, because the idea of it is wonderful, but it has been weaponized by minds greater than ours, possibly. You know, and it feels like, certainly from a sort of political point of view, it feels like the far right have figured out how to gamify it far better than the far left. And when you sort of look at those, I remember we did a thing on the show about AI, that one of the biggest issues with it is the way that you teach AI the information. And with some of these companies, they were just plugging AI into the internet. And what was fascinating, that what came out was that within days, AI was sort of racist and, you know, homophobic and sexist and, you know, psychotic, because that's what the internet taught it, because algorithmically the fringes are elevated because they're more desirous and, you know, and maddening and rage. That's what I find frustrating about the internet, that for whatever reason, decency and extraordinary acts don't rise to the top.
Yeah.
And that's what I find annoying. But then that's also symptomatic of the news. There's a brilliant book about the news by Alan de Botton.
I read that.
It's a really great book, I thought. And the sort of brief idea of it is, it makes the news because it doesn't happen that often. But we live in a world where all bad things are happening all the time, so everything is awful, so we're kind of beaten by it. And I think that's the frustrating thing with the internet.
I guess, I mean, I suppose that's why I wanted to put it in this list, because obviously that is a discourse that is going on, and there is a lot of bad things about it, but I also just want to remind people that it's kind of amazing.
Exactly.
You can play FIFA against someone on Australia.
Yes.
You know? It's really cool.
But that would be a great stand-up show for you to do, to speak about how great the internet is and remind everybody of what it could be. I think that's what's frustrating, isn't it? There is this sort of sense. I was never on Twitter. I never really did it. But I know a lot of people speak about the early days of Twitter. Yeah. Going, this is so much fun. We're all sharing information and it feels so cool, and we're learning and we're connected, and it got taken away.
It's actually really fascinating to have lived through that. Have you seen, like, a couple of days ago, I think that they changed it so you can now see where accounts are posting from. Right. So there were lots of accounts that were like, I don't know, a Brexit voter or a Trump supporter or an Antifa person, and you think that but they're actually just some guy in like Indonesia who's like making money off the anger of people on the right or the left, and basically tweeting stuff because now Elon has made it so you can kind of get money from traction. And this idea that it was a public marketplace for ideas has now essentially just been totally bastardized in the time that we've been watching it, which I think is fascinating and is obviously an example of how the internet is bad. I think. Do you know about N-shitification? Have you come across this as a term? It's the idea that once a company gets market share, there's actually no financial incentive for the company to make the product better, and all it does is actually make the users a market. So it's actually more incentivized to make the product worse in order to like get money off advertisers and stuff. So it's kind of a capitalism problem as well. But the internet, I guess, in these grand schemes, stuff like Amazon and Twitter clearly has huge problems. But I think we need to get back to how funny it is to watch like a cat gif, Yeah.
No. What's your next brilliant thing?
Yes, the Danish Gambit. Do you like chess?
I do. I went to chess club as a young man.
Amazing. Have you ever played the Danish Gambit? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
So basically, the Danish Gambit, you're playing as white, and then you put the sort of E5 pawn forward, and then black will go E5, and then you immediately do the D4, right? So encouraging it to take. And then if black takes, then you put the C3 pawn forward as well. And then if that black takes, then you've got a bishop there. And basically, it's just an insanely attacking opening that immediately opens the entire board. It's like the most dopaminergic way to play chess.
Yeah.
And
so it's like Brentford, just like hammer it forward.
Essentially, yeah. It's just like, let's get rid of all the nonsense around the back and just like start the chess.
It's heavy metal chess.
And essentially, if black plays entirely properly, like you do lose. But if they make one error, you can just basically kick them door, and the game is really exciting.
So how quickly can you vanquish someone using the Danish Gambit?
Oh, if you're right, I think you can win in like 7 moves.
Wow.
I think it's insane, but they have to sort of fall into it, and obviously they're taking your pawn, being like, "What is this guy? You're an idiot. I'm playing an absolute moron here."
Yeah.
But essentially, I just like it because it immediately forces your opponent to sort of do mad stuff, and you're in the game straight away. There's none of the sort of like tactical positional play where you're trying to be sensible. And essentially, it's sort of like baiting the press in football, but the equivalent would be, I guess, just sort of like putting the football on the goal line and the goalkeeper sort of running quite far away and just going like, have a goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know why you like chess, but I just think it speaks a lot to sort of someone's psychology and someone's personality. And I do think that like I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie, so I feel like as much as I will probably lose 5 games of chess doing this, the 6th game that I win makes me feel like the cleverest person in the world. So I'm sort of happy to take the sacrifice.
I mean, the two
Quite
things.
funny, isn't it?
And 2 things. Yeah, I mean, I was on board with that instantly. I let him finish, but I don't think anyone's ever said I like chess because I'm an adrenaline junkie. I mean, that was really enjoyable.
I didn't know what you're going to pick up on. There's about 5 things I've said that you're going to like.
But secondly, like, are you playing online?
Yeah. I mean, so I had a problem during the pandemic where like I became very, very addicted to it, and on chess.com you have like a rating as well, and whenever you'd lose, you sort of lose rating points. And I mean, I guess everyone went mad to some extent during the pandemic, but I was mainly screaming at teenagers from New Zealand who are, you're a 10, you're a 900, how are you beating me? I'm a 1300. You know what I mean? Like a weird sort of delusions of grandeur. And I was taking chess quite seriously right then, but then I found out that this way of playing chess kind of made it more fun for me.
Right.
It just basically requires a little bit less thinking, and it makes it a little bit more like sort of Call of Duty. But it is still fundamentally chess. So, I'm a nerd. All right.
So, and do you?
It's heavy metal chess. It's clock chess.
Do you do that then? Do you always play that move?
If I'm white, yeah. I feel like winning a game of chess. It is. I don't know. Look, if I was on chess.com, I'd be protecting my rating, and I would get quite upset with myself if I fell below the sort of standard that I was, and then I'd start to play more tactically. But now I play on this thing called lead chess, where there is no thing, and like there is no history, there's no record of how insanely reckless you've been. So it's just trying to win a game of chess in the most fun way. So but I can't do this to myself. Like before today, I thought I'd play some chess to sort of research just so I could talk to you about it, and I lost 5 games in a row, and I got really angry. Like I have to ban myself from doing this. Like really angry, like upsettingly angry. I was just by myself in my flat, being like, no, like, and there's nothing else in my life that I ever get that upset about. I think it just reveals your ignorance, I feel like such a moron when I'm using of chess, even though it doesn't matter at all.
What I find so interesting about chess, so I'm completely recreational. I don't play online.
Oh yeah, I'm also very bad. I don't want to come across like I can play this game at all.
I would play my brother, and I might play my wife on holiday or that kind of thing. So and it's an occasional bit of fun. But I remember watching the Queen's Gambit, and I was completely ignorant to all the moves and all the kind of like tactics behind it. I was playing it purely, I'll pop that there and that can go there.
Yeah.
And I would worry about, I enjoy the fun of chess of like, oh, I'll try this out. But I know I'm figuring out on my own rather than going, okay, I'm following this pattern that I have learnt. It would be a bit like playing football, knowing I'm not allowed to go out of my sector and I'm a left back and I mustn't go there, and if my centre back comes back, I move over here and I take one. It takes the kind of art out of it. But I really appreciate the deep, in-depth knowledge of having that kind of tactical awareness. It's a bit like when you watch American football and you realise just how bright the quarterbacks are, that they know all of these plays, and they just sit down with all the. Everyone else is going out the night before and having fun, and the quarterback is sat down going, right, there's 300 ways we could do this, and if he goes apricot, I know what to do.
Yeah.
Or if he says tornado, I do this.
Well, that's what I like to do. I like to watch sort of chess breakdowns of like very smart people explaining their moves, and then I can sort of pretend that I'm them, and then when I play chess, I just play like an absolute madman.
But does it then make it difficult because you're always trying to remember a map of something you saw 3 years ago?
Yeah, no. If I was trying to beat you, and we had like 10 grand on the match, I would go away and I'd play the same opening 100 times and I'd try and take it seriously. But fortunately, I'm never playing chess for 10 grand against Russell Howard. Fortunately, I'm just playing with absolutely no stakes.
Do you know who loves chess, and you might have inadvertently played him? No. Stephen Merchant.
I did not know that.
He is a huge chess fan. He was talking about it on this show.
Really?
And he goes on. Doesn't give his real name. He's anonymous, but he also gets very angry and takes a lot of shit. He was telling us from Mexican teenagers.
Yeah. That was my sort of lowest ebb on chess.com, was just sort of giving abuse out to these. I mean, all you have is their username and their like nationality. So I'd just be like, you dumb Irishman or something. You know what I mean? I'd just be like, that's all you can go, you stupid New Zealander. And it was a bad time in my life, actually. But chess is amazing. And again, another thing that I don't really feel fully qualified to talk about, because it's just so unendingly complicated and played by these genius people, and I'm just there just like sacrificing pawns like an idiot.
Other unlikely famous chess fanatics?
Eberechi Eze.
Eberechi Eze.
Oh, is that right?
Going to, yeah.
Again?
Won a tournament recently.
So it makes sense.
Another reason why I'm absolutely in love with that guy.
Yeah.
Madonna.
Really?
She's a very keen chess player, got a good ranking. And Adolf Hitler.
If I saw him on chess.com, I'd have a few words.
He would play chess once a day. He always played as the white pieces, and he would always replace one bishop with a second queen.
Adolf, you won again. I wonder why.
Exactly. But you just imagine him losing one game and the glasses comes off. Oh my god. Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, I imagine he was really good. I imagine he was the #1 rated Nazi chess player. Do you know what I mean? You'd have to have some plums to destroy Hitler. Wow, he would always be white. Who saw that coming in? Wow. See, that's the interesting thing about chess. It's such a... you're so lucky if you've been taught it, and it just you have to be very fortunate. I just randomly went to a chess club at like a comprehensive school when I was like or primary school even, and I was like, that's really fun, and I got taught it, and this is how much of a nincompoop I am. We were on holiday in Barcelona, and I reckon I was 14, bored out of our minds. We went to this chess shop that only sold chess bits. It was incredible, but really expensive. So I said to my brother, fuck that, we'll make our own. So we got like a box of shreddies, cut it up and kind of made, but didn't realise that you had to have an amount of squares. So we just made this massive chess set that had loads, and it just took.
That's great fun.
It took so long, but and then we kind of went home and got a chess set again, and you realise it's a great thing to go and have on holiday. Playing chess in the sun, by the sea or by a pool. What a glorious hour that is.
And again, perhaps I'm sort of reading too much into it, but I think chess is such a wonderful sort of metaphor for life in that all of your decisions are sort of your own responsibility, and you can make 30 good decisions and you can be completely upended by one bad decision. And it has its own internal logic whereby if you're responsible, responsible things can happen. If you're chaotic, you're more increasing the likelihood of chaotic things happening. And I think it is sort of very revelatory as to someone's sort of headspace and their psychological nature, how they decide to play chess, if they can play it. You know, once you understand how the pieces move and once you understand how tactics are supposed to operate, I think you can express yourself unbelievably well. Once you kind of you get it, you know, and I think it's beautiful. I mean, people talk about, you know, chess players who played it in a very beautiful way, chess players who played it in a sort of very methodical way. It's sort of infinite in its complexity, but also quite simple in how it sort of reveals someone's personality. I just think it's really, really cool, and I'm definitely going to try and teach my daughter to play as soon as possible. I learned from my grandfather, to be fair, as well, and it's a beautiful memory, you know, having that sort of handed down. This game has lasted for sort of thousands of years. There's a reason why it's the most popular game of all time, and I just am a big evangelist for it. Even though I suck. I suck so bad.
You can't though.
I can't. I mean, like, you know, I probably, I don't know. I beat somebody who's just taken it up. I'm a 1300. I don't know if anyone knows what that means. You know, it's all right.
It feels like modesty to me. I feel like you really can.
No. It's 1300 is sort of bog standard average.
As a self-professed adrenaline junkie, and man who becomes irrationally angry at chess, might I suggest chess boxing would be the solution?
I would agree with you, but I recently I did a full Edinburgh Fringe run with a 6-month-old baby, and whose mother was
Jesus, that's some double O's.
And she was the mother of the baby was sort of intermittently struggling with her mental health post birth. Edinburgh was very
Triple
festival, and about a few days before the end, I was so frustrated that the Wi-Fi wasn't working because I love the internet so much. Sure. I actually punched a wall and broke my hand because they put sort of soundproofing on the Airbnb, so I thought the wall would be really soft. Then I punched it, and it was just a wall. So
as if Edinburgh cost enough, you then break your Airbnb.
We'd already moved house because the house that we were in before had a mold problem, which obviously with a newborn baby you couldn't have. So I moved to a very expensive late notice Airbnb in Edinburgh. So all the money I was earning was basically going on this. You know, it was a lot of stress things going on. So my point is, I punched a wall. I've broken my 5th metacarpal, and now I don't really think that I should ever punch anything ever again. So beyond that, I think I'll stick to punching my laptop screen when I lose a game of chess. But yeah, good tip. Thank you. A lot of information about my headspace during Edinburgh then.
What was that like doing the full Edinburgh run for the first time in a while?
Well,
and what
honestly,
was it like doing Edinburgh with a 6-month-old?
Curious to your perspective on this. Because of the variety of stresses that I just illustrated, it was the first time I've ever experienced in my life going on stage and it feeling like the easiest part of my day.
Right.
Which I'm sort of very grateful for that experience, because I've always put a lot of pressure on myself and I found performing quite a stressful thing. And to go on stage and actually be able to be like, oh, this is the relaxing bit of my day, it was incredibly interesting. You know, I don't know. I mean, presumably you come across that you feel very, very at home on stage.
Yeah.
Whereas I've always felt like it's quite a sort of draining thing that I've become more open to the idea that it's fun. But I always used to think of it more as like a test that I had to kind of pass, you know. So I guess in answer to your question, I would say that I'm quite glad to have had a very, very stressful real life experiences, so I could realise that actually on stage it is just a bit of a laugh, and maybe you shouldn't take it so seriously when there's actual serious things going on in your real life, such as keeping a baby alive and keeping a mother of a baby happy.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there, eh?
Yeah, it was a big month.
What was it like doing those gigs with a 6-month-old and then sort of popping home and playing with?
Well, I mean, presumably again, you've had the same thing as you age. You sort of realise that. I mean, for anyone listening who doesn't know, the Edinburgh Fringe is, you know, it's sort of like the showcase for us as comedians, and it's where you are. encouraged to think it's sort of the most important month of your entire life because everyone's forming their opinions on you and stuff. But when you have a child, that does all sort of melt into nonsense. And as a result, this was the best Edinburgh I've ever had, really, as a performer, because I didn't care about it half as much because I was caring about things that were more important. And weirdly, that fed into me performing it in a way that actually meant that I could enjoy it because I was sort of freed to do so.
What was the show about?
It's my new tour show. It's called Whatever People Say I Am, That Is What I Am. It's
Where can we get tickets?
It's TomRosenthal.net, touring all this year, and it's basically about loosely about all the things that I've been categorized as. So it's sort of about the public perception of me, which is largely as these characters in these sitcoms that I play, but it's also about the Arctic Monkeys because they had two big mainstream hits that I really loved, and then as they went on their sort of creative journey, they sort of lost a few fans. And I'm kind of quite conscious that as I become more authentically me, that I might lose people who like me from the sitcoms, So it's sort of allows me to dress as Alex Turner, and there's a lot of Arctic Monkeys. I don't know what you think about the Arctic Monkeys creative journey, but they've, it splits opinion.
So are you a huge fan?
Well, I
is
personally,
it just that you see them as a sort of similarity to yourself?
Yeah, no, I personally am more in the category of thinking that the first two albums came out when I was at school, and he was sort of the voice of my generation, and I absolutely sort of loved that version of him and them. And then again, I have incredible respect as a creative person for this journey they've gone on and how sort of authentic they have been to what they wanted their voice to be. But they just completely lost me as a fan, and I don't like listening to their music anymore. So I saw that as like a potential parallel for my own career, or at least the worry that I have for my own career. And I also sort of do make jokes a little bit about how much he tries to communicate that he doesn't care what people think about him, despite seemingly really caring what people think about him. You know what I mean? You can't put that much hair gel in your hair if you really don't care how you're perceived, right? Yes. And there's an odd tension that I think all performers kind of have to have. The comedian also has to kind of act like they don't care how people think about them, even though obviously underneath all of us, we also want them to care, right? You can't be like, please laugh at my joke, but you kind of do think, please laugh at my joke, right? So it's this tension of a performer, which I think that he is a kind of like caricatured example of. And so I just dress like him and I sort of act like him during the show. And it's just a sort of a structure to hang a variety of routines about things that I've been categorized as. But it allows me to listen to my favorite ever album of theirs before the show. And they've also got a lot of fans and people buy tickets because they like Arctic Monkeys,
What is the final?
The fifth thing is it's the Fibonacci sequence / the golden ratio. Are you aware of these things?
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm aware of the Fibonacci sequence, but I don't know. I know it as a thing. I don't know why anyone would say it's brilliant, and I'm interested to know.
To be honest, mate, I'm not even fully confident. I can explain. Basically. It's the nerdiest thing I've selected. The Fibonacci sequence, as you know, is a sequence of numbers whereby the third number is the sum of the previous two numbers. So it's like 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, right? The golden ratio is called phi. It's like a Greek number like pi. It's an irrational number. Pi is the ratio between the diameter of a circle and the radius or whatever. Phi is this number. It's like 1.61 or whatever. And basically, in the Fibonacci sequence, when you divide a number by the number before it, it trends towards this irrational number. Why is it brilliant? Because it's found in nature loads.
Well, that is what's curious, isn't it? When you look at the role that maths plays, it's difficult not to get the heebie-jeebies if you ever opened up a beehive, and see what they're doing. Oh my God, it's all the same.
Yes,
it's all, and that's with their asses.
Yes,
it's wild, but it's so purely mathematical that it's all the same. Not one of the bees goes and slightly makes it incorrect. It's maths.
I guess this is why I think it's brilliant, because it is the sort of mathematical underpinning of the sort of biological universe that I just find is really cool. I actually think that the ratio of the male bees to female bees in a beehive also accords with this golden ratio, right? Which is this number phi. It's sort of found in nature loads, like the distance between this finger and this finger and this finger and this finger, and then that finger to the thing and to the palm of your hand, and your navel to your feet versus your height to your feet. Like all of these proportions correlate to this.
Unless you're Michael Phelps.
Ratio, right? Yes. Well, again, that's over a general average human population. And I don't know, man. I just think it's really brilliant and cool, and it's part of
spooky as well, isn't it?
But it is and it isn't. I think that there's. I mean, I initially was drawn to it because of the sort of mysticism of it, and I think I first heard about it in this Dan Brown book. What's it called, The Da Vinci Code or whatever. And there's a sort of theory that like Renaissance artists like used it to make beautiful things, but it actually just becomes a sort of fundament of biology and maths in that. The simplest way to explain it, I've been thinking about this, is what I've done with research before, is if you were God, and you were making like a plant, and you want the leaves of the plant to get as much sunlight as possible, you'd have like one leaf there, and then like one leaf at a right angle, and one leaf there, and then one leaf there. But then the next leaf would like cover the first leaf, so that leaf would not be getting any sunlight. So you need an angle that is going to basically make the leaf above the first leaf get the most sunlight without blocking the leaf from the first light from the first leaf. And then what you find in nature is all the time is that this angle, which is like 137.5 degrees, called the golden angle, basically, if you make things like that and the leaves on it, then it starts to form this spiral, which ends up to be like the sort of sacred geometry that you see in pineapples and artichokes and pine cones and stuff. So as much as it kind of feels magical, it's actually just like a mathematical necessity to do with how the universe is kind of constructed. And that's why you get these beautiful spirals in the middle of like sunflower seeds. These seeds are spiraled in the most effective way that nature can find to pack things into a small space, and they look beautiful to us, which is why I think it's a brilliant thing, right? Because so humans, we really like order above chaos, but we like beauty more than both of those things. And beauty is a symbiosis of order and chaos, and phi is a sort of mathematical illustration of that. It's a mathematical illustration of beauty, which I think is really cool and brilliant. And people think that,
but that's I think that's you might not have stumbled onto it, but I think that's it. It's the maths behind beauty.
Yes,
that is so interesting. I think it happens in music. That music is so mathematical. Yeah. Where when you first hear it, it just feels like it's this, with the exception of jazz, whatever. It feels like it's just like, I'm just me and my axe, man. And then when you actually learn how to play stuff, you're like, oh, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 1, 1, 6, 6. What? It's all mathematical. It's crazy.
And frequency as well, which is another kind of cool way in which sort of the universe interacts with our conception of beauty.
And that, that mathematical formula that is a song then has the beauty to create emotions in you. So we receive it in a different way. We don't receive it mathematically. We're just like, this is lovely, and it's making me making me move.
It's like an experience.
Yeah. It's liquid emotion, music. And yet it is fundamentally mathematical.
And again, I suppose, if you're going to talk about the sort of psychological implications, I get, as a comedian, you're always trying to sort of work out the science behind something that's kind of ineffable or unexplainable, right? The laugh, you can't really quantify why it happens, but I guess the sort of fundamental building blocks of why it should happen, right? It doesn't necessarily explain the laugh itself.
Well,
right?
What's interesting with the laugh as well is that sometimes we will all have some, if not many, moments in our show that get to laugh, and I've been doing stand-up for 25 years, and you go, I have no idea what that's funny. But when I say it, it is. But I'm pretty certain that is funny, and yet many audiences have said no. And you go, but that should be funny. That should be in the show. But I've tried it 20 times, and every audience has gone, no. But that bit that isn't funny, there's no science behind it. It is. I think what's interesting about stand-up and those kind of laughs that make you laugh, I think it's because that is your purest version, and that it's in those moments where you're like, right, that's what I want you to love. That's who I am. And if you're here for that, I can do that till the cows come home, because that really makes me laugh. Versus those moments where you're like, it's fine. It's fine. Like, so I was really drawn to what you said earlier of like when you really want to perform these things to the point where they're making you laugh. It's a great place to get to.
Well, I mean, obviously, like I think we have slightly different concerns in that you're sort of packing out these huge venues of people who have, a certain expectation of you, and I'm kind of slightly freed of those. I mean, I don't have the amount of people coming to expect that I'm going to entertain them. I suppose people are coming to me more somewhat as an oddity, being like, oh, what does this person do on stage? You know, so I'm
Yeah.
not quite as beholden as you are to those concerns. So right now, I get the honor of being, or the privilege of being, sort of as authentic as I can, right?
Yeah.
But the show is kind of dealing with, like, I have these avenues. If I want to start selling out venues like you're doing, you know, I probably can't do some of the weird crap that I'm trying to do right now, and it's like it's a decision.
But I think, again, to go back to the internet, I think the great thing about putting stuff out there is that you can find your tribe,
Yes.
you know, and you know, there's still I have to find, but I think Steve Martin is such an interesting example because he was doing stadiums,
Yeah.
and he was basically doing stuff that you would see
Yeah.
in the most alternative clubs.
Yeah.
Really interesting, but he just caught fire without screens. He's doing 60,000 people, and he's like going, right, I'm going to put a balloon on my head. Are ya?
Oh my goodness.
I guess you are, you know, so I kind of feel like the world is desperate for a Steve Martin at the minute, just like a Vic and Bob, just someone fucking silly, that is able to kind of, like, I don't know, just take people's mind away for a bit. Who knows?
Yes.
But I wish you'd started with that. I thought that was great.
I was going to start with it.
It was brilliant.
You know, I don't
No,
know.
but I'm-
it is brilliant, though, right? It's really cool,
It's
man.
so
but again,
even if it's, you know, of course you can't explain it because it's
it's really
you're
deep maths.
basically talking about maths and God. So yeah, you're gonna struggle.
I think finishing with it was right, because I think if you'd led with that,
Yeah, everyone's
all
turning
the
off.
dragons are out immediately.
This is exactly my fear. It's like,
What do you mean all
start
the-
with Bird Camp.
What do you mean all the dragons are out?
Well, if you walked straight into the den and you're like,
Oh, I see.
I want to talk about the golden ratio, I'm out.
Yeah, true. But we might have lost a lot of non-football fans.
I'll give you 100k for 1.61% of your business.
Very good.
Just quickly, a few things that conform to the golden ratio that you see every day that you may not know. The Kit Kat logo, the Mona Lisa,
Wow.
Aston Martins, credit cards, and Shania Twain's face.
Fantastic.
Shania Twain's face.
Yes.
The face of the country and western singer Shania Twain.
So she's the most mathematically beautiful. Woman.
She's got a spiral face.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, her face conforms most precisely to the golden ratio. Golden spiral.
Wowzers. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. I love that. Ladies and gentlemen, the fantastic Tom Rosenthal.
I wanted to say that don't impress me much, but is that the right singer?
It is.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.